Oh, I think you guys are muted, but I can't hear. Or we can't hear.
Yeah, muted. So you want to come here? Please join us.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that there's extra pair of eyes.
No. I have extra pairs of eyes. I'm using glasses here.
Okay, I'll come
Don't
in.
worry.
Just give me a second.
Sure.
Maybe you mute yours. I'm just doing recording. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so I would use the term vessel operator the same way that I would use technical manager or DOC manager,
Oh, okay.
document compliance manager. The technical managers and the DOC manager are entities that we have in our platform.
Okay, so the role of vessel operator as, can I show you this definition of roles that we have on our RightShip platform? So what you were saying is that the role of a vessel operator is actually equivalent to a technical manager or a DOC company.
Yep, that's how
Would that be right?
that's how I view it. Yep.
Okay, cool. Maybe I can not share the screen. That's all I want to
Doesn't-
show.
It doesn't.
All right. So, what is the role and responsibility of a vessel operator?
To make sure the vessel is always ready to carry the cargo for a charterer or a commercial operator.
And what sort of vessels does he operate from the customer base that we have?
Generally, we're dealing with operators that manage dry bulk vessels, general cargo vessels, and tankers. And the tankers can be oil tankers, chemical tankers, or gas tankers.
And which part of this makes up the large part of our customer base? Would it be the dry bulk or tankers or what sort?
Generally, the ship operators that we have as customers are in the dry bulk sector. Some of them, we do have some tanker operators, and we also have some operators that manage both.
Oh,
So the big ship operators, the big technical managers will operate a fleet of various vessel types, including the dry bulk, general cargo, and tankers. But they may also operate vessels that we're not so interested in at the moment, like container vessels, ro-ro vessels, even passenger ro-ro vessels.
You see. And what are the areas they look into during vessel planning for the role of operator?
The biggest planning requirements that they need to do is the maintenance of the vessel, because some maintenance of the vessel will take it out of service. So it's a bit like you being an Uber driver. You can't carry passengers and take fares if your car's being in the garage being fixed. It's the same with the ship operator. They have to plan for their service periods. They can inform the charterer or the commercial operator of the vessel that it's not going to be available for so many days per year or so many weeks per 5 years.
And who do they alliance with on a daily basis?
They would be liaising with their crews on the ships. They would be liaising with service providers that they need to engage to keep the vessel running. So the maintenance providers, the stores, so the food and supplies that they need to get on the vessel, the technicians that need to service pieces of equipment while the ship's in service, like the navigation equipment or the machinery in the engine room. They would be liaising with vessel agents who help coordinate getting the vessel in and out of port. They would be liaising with the cargo interests, so the people that are paying their bills. and giving them the money to run the ship. And then they'd be also liaising with people like us that are screening the vessel or vetting the vessel.
And does their job requires them to do like a lot of documentation work as well?
Yeah. So all ship managers must operate under the International Safety Management Code, which is like a quality system. And that's where the term DOC comes from, because the company must hold a document of compliance, which is a document of compliance under the International Safety Management Code. Like all quality systems, you've got to document what you do, why you do it. You've got to document what you've done. You've got to keep records of your maintenance, got to keep records of the fuel consumptions and logs and all that sort of stuff for the vessel.
And does their job require them to handle financial payments as well?
Yeah. Not so much for the ownership of the vessel, so they don't have to make payments to lease the vessel or to pay the vessel back, but they do have to pay or supervise all the payment and make the payments for the technical upkeep of the vessel. And crew wages and agents' fees for their own vessel. What else are they paying for? Stores and food and running costs.
Okay. And I have a few questions around the needs and goals of vessel operator. So, for example, what do you think they need to do to increase their productivity?
So if productivity is measured in terms of economic efficiency or
Yeah, as in
profits or
probably around profits and reducing or simplifying their workflow.
So they would have to be keeping a control of their costs as much as possible, but at the same time charging a fee to the owner that gives them a sufficient margin for operating. In terms of their efficiency of operation, it's like running any business that they need to just keep improving they need to keep meeting expectations, either regulatory or industry expectations, and they need to keep improving their processes so that the mistakes they've been making in the past don't get repeated.
And how do they ensure that, like the vessels are operating safely at sea or in port?
Good question. They should be monitoring the vessel in a number of different ways. So they should be getting regular reports in from the vessel. So the communication, requiring the vessel to send in communications, like daily updates, meeting reports, safety meeting reports, vessel management reports. Then they should be going on board regularly to make sure that what the vessel is saying is true, and doing their own independent checks. They should be using external parties to audit the vessel. And then they should be reviewing the reports that other external parties that aren't invited or have the right to turn up and just inspect the vessel anyway, see what they're finding and how they what response they need to make to those.
So for vessel operators, what do they value most and what is their main goal?
Making money.
Making money.
That's a little bit facetious, but you know, like any business, they're there to make money. That's their ultimate goal. They will have different ship operators will have different ways of encouraging that. So whether it's by valuing their people, whether it's by reducing incidents, whether it's by increasing the productivity and the training of their staff so that they can operate the vessel more efficiently. But ultimately, they're there to make money. So,
okay. And what sort of key risks that a vessel operator might face?
I guess the key risk is an incident, a high category, like a severe incident, high risk incident. Be it a grounding, be it a loss of cargo, be it a machinery breakdown that stops the vessel trading. Yeah, I think that would be their key risks. And obviously the personal incidents, and that will really knock them around if they have a fatality or injure their crews.
And what are the steps that they would take to minimize or overcome this sort of risk? What are any preventive measure or practice that they would do?
Well, they're always trying, like in the previous, as I said previously, they're trying to improve their processes. They're trying to monitor the vessel as efficiently as they can so that they can pick up the signs that things are good, not good. And if they're not good, they should be taking steps to rectify what's going wrong before they lead to an incident. Yeah, so they'll be using the reports and the visits and all the monitoring they can get their hands on to see how things are going and make sure and try and prevent the accidents. They should also be learning from learning lessons from one vessel and passing it on to the rest of the fleet, so that they don't just run ships in isolation. They run the ships, their whole fleet, to the same sort of standards, and they're learning lessons from one and passing them on to the others.
And what sorts of tools or like system they are currently using? Any idea around that?
So the good ship operators will have a computer system on board where all the reports are logged. The planned maintenance is running, the stores system is running, and all that is being synchronized ashore into their office so that they can see, they can basically log onto each of the ship's computer systems and see, okay, I've got a master's report, I've got a safety committee report, I've got a management committee report, I've got the chief engineer's report, I've got the planned maintenance schedule, I've got the planned maintenance history, I've got all their stores orders and see what they're buying and what they're consuming in their stores. And so all that should be synchronized with the office. But the ones that aren't so flash in that will be using spreadsheets that only come in, periodically, or paper-based reports that only come in periodically.
So, can we assume that they are tech savvy or not?
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, I think nowadays we can. The amount of tech they're able to deploy will depend a little bit on their budget and how much satellite they want to pay for. But they will all have IT departments. They will all have technical people that are able to advise them on communication channels between the ships and systems and applications that they can deploy or use.
And what sort of what are the RightShip features are they currently using?
I reckon currently they're using the safety score to monitor the commercial viability of the vessel. Now the safety score is, as it says, is measuring safety, but the charterers will be looking at that as a through a commercial lens.
Yeah.
So if the vessel gets nominated to them to carry their cargo, they will look at the price of the freight, how much they're going to be charged to carry that cargo. And then the second thing they'll look at is what the safety record is and whether that's going to get them into trouble. And so they'll be trying to improve their safety score as much as possible by closing out incidents, sending in incident reports, sending in port state control closeout reports, so that they stay on top of the safety score and don't let the rules kick in where it'll automatically drop it to 2 out of 5.
And what other features?
Sorry, and they may also be using vessel inspections as well.
I see. Okay. And have you came across any of these rule of vessel operator that they may be looking out for other features as well that is currently not offered by RightShip? Is there any other features that may interest them?
I think the good ship operators are always looking for an edge over their competitors. So they're starting to look at audits company audits, so that where right ship goes in, has a look at the way their management system is working, and evaluates that against a sort of an industry standard. That gives them sort of a gap analysis of where they are versus where the best practices are, or best standards are. And then it would be up to them whether they, what aspects they target to try and bridge those gaps. What's going to bring them the most, what's going to be most economical for them to pursue. If they could do anything to improve their safety score, they would, but at the moment we don't have a lot of offering in that regard. So the only thing we can offer them won't have a direct effect on the safety score. It has an indirect effect. So, for example, the company audit might improve their processes and might mean that they manage the ships more efficiently, but it's not going to automatically, say, raise them from a 3 out of 5 to a 4 out of 5. That's only going to come after they've been trading with a bit of history, with no incidents and no detentions and minimal deficiencies. So if we offered them a product that would have a more direct effect on the safety score, then I'm sure we'd get a lot of interest from it.
Okay. And is there any scenario whereby a vessel operator could be playing the role of a charterer or ship owner at the same time?
Yeah. So there's a lot of ship owners that choose to operate the ships themselves, be the technical managers themselves, and they will. So they will also charter their vessel out to parties that want to use it to load cargo, but they also may want to charter vessels in as well, so they become all three. So rather than buying more ships, they charter them in, and so you start off with owning a fleet of 5 ships, and then you get this big chunk of business that needs 7 ships, so they charter the other 2 in, and so they become vessel owner, vessel manager, and charter.
Do you have any understanding that which combination makes up most of our current customer base?
In terms of
the mix of the roles?
If you measure it in terms of vessels, I would say the majority are vessel operators. If you measure it in terms of number of customers, I don't know. It's probably still vessel managers, but there'd be quite a high number of vessel owners as well.
Okay. Let's move on to the next role, the role of a ship owner. So is a ship owner a person or entity?
Entity.
And as an entity, what kind of services does a ship owner provides?
They provide the money to buy the ship, and then they provide the asset to either manage it in-house, or they give it to a technical manager to operate for them.
Okay. And what is the role and responsibility of a ship owner?
To pay the bills that relate to the purchase of the vessel. Depending on the charter arrangements, or they may also pay insurance costs. They may also pay fuel costs, and they need to pay the fee for the technical manager if they're not doing it in-house.
So as a ship owner, how do they keep their ship safe and operate efficiently?
Normally by employing a high standard technical manager. They can check the technical manager's work by getting reports from them, but also doing their own inspections of their own asset. So they're doing their own inspection of their ship every so often.
And what type of inspection do they conduct for their ships?
It's more an asset-based inspection, or it's known in the industry as a sale and purchase inspection. So where you're just looking at the condition of the asset, you're not looking at how well it's being operated. You're not interested in the crew competency so much. You're not interested in the navigation procedures or their safety procedures, or they're more concerned. They would be concerned about the maintenance procedures, but only so far as that they're not going to come up with. They're not ruining the asset, and by spending no money on the maintenance.
And do they care about minimizing pollution at sea?
I think they would. Anyone involved in the ship would care about minimizing pollution, but the ship owner would care more from the perspective that their name might get dragged into the mud, that they would suffer reputational damage by being associated with the vessel, because they won't be too responsible for the pollution unless they've just handed over a ship that's got holes in it. But if the ship is being maintained properly by the technical managers and being operated correctly by the technical managers, the ship owner has got no control over the pollution of the vessel.
And what about cargo safety? Is it something that they will care about, or they basically leave it to technical manager?
Again, they mostly leave it to the technical manager, so long as it doesn't affect their reputation as a.
And what do they need to do to attract more businesses?
They need to buy more ships. So to be a bigger ship owner, you need to attract people to lend you the money to buy the ships.
And how do they keep their ships competitive?
Largely by trying to reduce their repayment costs compared to their competitors. So they've got their repayment costs are lower, and therefore their costs are lower. And then they can charter the vessel out more cheaply and get more work. Or they try to operate a higher, or try to purchase and hire out a higher quality asset that is more capable of commanding a good charter rate, a freight rate.
And what do they do to, like basically improve their ships ratings?
They don't
No,
care about the
They
ratings.
don't care about, okay.
That's maybe a bit harsh, but if they were really concerned with their ship's rating, then they may change technical managers. So if their vessel drops, if the score of their vessel drops too much, and they can't find business for it, then they will go to a technical manager who can raise the standard or raise the score.
I see. Okay, and what must they do to keep a good reputation as a ship owner?
I guess it's to avoid incidents, and by avoiding incidents, it's by providing a good asset to the charterer.
Okay. Yeah. And what do they value most, and what is their main goal?
Money.
Yeah. So for, being a ship owner, is there any key risk that they might face?
The key risk is that the vessel is not technically managed well, and therefore it depreciates quicker than it should. So like all assets will depreciate, and a poorly maintained vessel will depreciate quicker. So that's their biggest risk.
And what are the steps that they will take to minimize this risk?
Pressure on the technical manager. Yeah.
All right. Any idea what sort of tools or system they are currently using? And are this group of people tech savvy? Do they adopt a lot of digital systems, tools, and things like that?
I assume so, but I think their tech would be more around financial apps and watching sale and purchase markets, and almost like a trading focus on their technology rather than anything else.
And what are the RightShip features that they are currently using, as a ship owner of our customer base?
Probably just the star rating.
Just the star rating?
Or the safety score.
Safety score. Any idea what other new features they will be looking out for?
No,
any opportunity that RightShip
no,
look into to enhance their?
I I don't,
experience or?
yeah, I don't, I think that's sort of outside my expertise, but I assume they can get all that market intelligence through other platforms. Whether there's any value in putting it all together for them. They can review safety scores of various ship managers and shop around if they need to, but it's not something that we really encourage, but I don't know whether, I don't know what sort of tools they'd be, or what sort of product enhancements would suit them.
Okay, sure.
It's a bit of a foreign world to me.
Let's move on to the last role that we're trying to discover here, which is the role of a charterer. So is a charterer a person or entity?
It's an entity, but it's much more easy to put a face or a name to that entity. So if you're dealing with a charterer, you might be dealing with the entity, but they will then have individuals that concentrate on certain segments of that market. So
and then what is the role and responsibility of a charterer then?
To pick a ship that is going to move their cargo from A to B in the most economic way.
What are the main types of charterer in shipping?
I guess that's more related to the length of time that they're chartering the vessel for. So there'll be charterers in the market looking for just a voyage. There'll be charterers in the market looking for a ship that they can use for a period of time. So a time charterer. And there'll be charterers that will be looking to take the vessel on almost like they were the owner of the vessel.
I see. So between these three different categories of charterer, are their needs similar, or are there any differences in their needs they are looking out for?
I think their needs are different in terms of the risk that they're exposed to. So a voyage charterer might be only exposed to the risk for days, a certain number of days. A time charterer, minimum sort of time charters are 3 months. So, but sometimes you might have a 12-month time charter, 2-year time charter. So their exposure is much longer to the risk of using that vessel if they pick the wrong one. And a bareboat charterer is looking to maybe charter the vessel for 5-10 years. So their exposure is even more.
And what would be the differences in the things that they value and their goals in that manner?
I think their focus would be fairly similar. It's just the degree of importance they place on it. So So if a short-term time charter or a voyage charter, they're I suppose they've got more of a interest in safety, because safety is going to give them an immediate hit. Whereas the longer term charterers are going to be more interested in the maintenance of the asset, because that's going to bite them in the long run.
Right.
Safety incident they'll be able to get over, or should be able to get over.
And what would be their main criteria when they are selecting a ship?
Cost.
Cost.
There's also a fair bit in the relationship between the vessel manager and owner and the charterer. They place a lot of value in whether they've done business with them before, and therefore whether they've got a trading history with them. And I guess that history will also reflect their safety standards that they're looking for as well. So if they know the ship operator is a good safety standard, then they're more likely to go with them again.
And can I say that reflects similarly to a ship's rating? That, ship's rating, how important it is to a charterer as well?
Almost paramount. To the point where they will include this safety rating clause in their charter party, and the clauses may be almost nonsensical, but they will still include them. It's RightShip has never supported safety score clauses, because we know the safety score can change, but the charterer will always put in most charter parties have clauses in them that the ship will maintain a certain safety rating, and that's not under the control of the ship operator a lot of the time. So, and yet they still sign the contract. So.
What would be their key consideration when they are engaging a ship owner?
Price, time. So price, whether they can meet the time that the lake can, the time they need the vessel, and then safety after that, probably.
And how do they evaluate the credibility of a ship owner?
Well, I know they're using the DOC subscore to evaluate their safety standard, but they will also be evaluating them in terms of their past history with them. How well their other vessels have performed, whether they've had any contractual issues with them in the past, whether they've had any payment issues in the no, they're paying them, so or whether the ship operator has caused them any embarrassment or vessel breakdowns or that sort of thing, and stop them performing their charter.
Mhm. What sort of ship information would they be looking out for?
A lot of the time, all they're looking out for is the physical dimensions of the ship, how much it can carry,
Mm,
how fast it goes. How deep it goes into the water
mm,
when it's fully loaded. Yeah, that's a lot of the time they're just doing the real physical stuff. So they need to move X amount of cargo. Will it fit in this ship?
mm,
If so, can I still get it into the port that I want to get it into, or is it going to be too deep?
mm,
And will it get there in time?
I see. And what will influence them in the selection of ships?
Price, timeliness, quality of the ship, and quality in terms of reliability and safety.
Mhm. And are charterers concerned about pollution and its potential impact as well?
Yeah,
They do.
because it has a big reputational damage on them,
Mm.
for them.
What do they value most, and what is their main goal as a charterer?
Moving the cargo from A to B,
Mm.
and therefore making money. And not losing money through reputational damage or safety incidents or delays or any other adverse publicity.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of key risks that a charterer might face?
The vessel not being able to complete the voyage in time.
Mm.
The vessel having an incident and then affecting their reputation, either in the market or in the media. Yeah, I suppose that sort of covers it, but the specific examples might be that a vessel can block their whole supply chain. So if they are only shipping out of one port and something goes wrong with the ship in that port, then their whole supply chain is stopped.
Mm. Is there any preventive measures that they would take to minimize all this from happening?
So the screening the vessel or vetting the vessel, so picking the right ship in the first place, and which comes into basically how well they've performed in the past as the best indicator of how they should perform for their voyage. The history of working with that ship operator or that vessel before. Yeah, that's about it.
And what sort of tools or system they are currently using? Any idea? around that?
They often start with a broking platform, so which is a platform that matches cargoes with ships.
Mm.
They will have applications that look at charter rates and monitor the markets, the commercial market of chartering ships. They may also be using a little bit of weather data to see how likely it is for the vessel to complete the voyage, or whether there's cyclones and typhoons that they're going to have to avoid. They'll be looking at vetting information. They'll be looking at vessel monitoring while it's on their charter. So whether it's keeping up to its schedule, whether it's falling behind in its ETA.
Yeah.
And probably a little bit of feedback from the ports and the terminals that it goes to make sure that it's, again, just to keep that voyage information coming through from a objective source, or a different source from the ship.
And can we say that this group of users, they are tech savvy?
Yep.
Any idea what sort of RightShip features they are using in our platform?
They're using vetting. They're using some of them will be sort of pre-screening with just reviewing the safety score. They may be using the platform to get some details of the vessel, the physical details of the vessel, but more than likely they're getting that information from other sources. Yeah, they're the main ones that they're using at the moment.
And one last question. Have you heard of any charterers that is looking for any features that currently we are not providing but is important to them?
Well, yeah, the big charterers, they're always looking for a bit more assurance of the vessel standard. So currently we've got vetting and inspections. They wanting more inspections, they're wanting more audits, they're wanting more indications of they're wanting a greater safety check of the vessel all the time. So as we keep raising our standards, they're going even higher. So
okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of inspection and ratings and such, is there any other form of standard that they are looking out to meet but is currently not presented?
Well, I've heard or been involved in the discussions with them around vessel monitoring. And some of them expressed a bit of interest in that, knowing, being able to see that the vessel is maintained, that the safety standard of the vessel is being maintained. But I think they're probably looking for more proactive indicators rather than lagging indicators, so reactive indicators. So they would prefer to know that the vessel is a high standard rather than it's just had an incident. Because once it's had an incident, they can't do anything about it. But if they knew about it before, then they could make a different decision.
Okay. Right. Maybe it's like you say, it's more of before something happens. There's certain checklist.
Yeah. That there's greater scrutiny of the vessel beforehand, and that all the dirty linen is aired before they get involved with the vessel. Once the vessel is under their control, they're going to hear about any incident. They're going to hear about port state control, but they can't do much about it. So.
Okay, cool. I think it's really good. We'll probably come to the end of this session. Thanks so much for your precious time and sharing. We will take this and carry on and to do the research and come up with the personas.
Thank you for recognising my time is precious.
Definitely. I mean, it's good to meet in person because a lot of time I conduct this virtually.
Yeah.
So yeah, it lacks that personal touch, but
Yeah.
I appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
And
no worries.
Welcome to Singapore. And let's move on to the fun part. Thank you.
Yeah, better stop the recording then.
Yeah.
The big one, I think.
Oh, there's one 60, there's no 70. There are 6 of us, right? No, there are 7 of us. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 6 of us. You go with Hayden. I go with Hayden. So I should do premium 6 of.
I know.
I see premium